Alright, in this video we're going to be doing a review and an installation of the 13-inch car radio from Cidava. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but that's the unit. So this is a 2020 Ram 3500. That's the Laramie package. So this is how the radio unit arrives to you. It's going to be in a box, well packaged. Okay, so all your wiring is going to be in here. We're going to go through all this. Alright, so you're going to get these little postcards sized information papers. And this is the company information. There's some more instructions right here. Alright, so this is the instructions for models with the 8.4 display. And that's exactly what we have in this car. So to make this one fit, you're going to have to move up these little brackets from being in the lower position. You got to move them up just like that. So this is it right here. We're going to move one notch up on both sides, just like the instructions say. Alright, so we're moving up the brackets. Okay, just make sure you do both sides. And they're just little small Phillips. Okay, so we got that one. Now we're going to move this one up as well. Just move the screws to different holes. Just tightening them. So on this instructions, it's telling us to clip the lower bolt poles. So it will be these pieces. I'm not going to cut them just yet. We're going to attempt to install it, and if they're going to be in the way, we will cut them off. But I just don't want to cut this stuff off just in case we don't need to. I just never installed this one before, so I just want to see it for myself first before we're going to start doing that. So now we're going to be pulling this assembly off, and I'll show you instructions how to do it. So we're going to start off by lifting this little cover off, and it's going to be 2 Torx screws. That's T20 Torx screws, 2 of them. So make sure you fully take them out. Alright, so once you got this 2 screws out, you're going to have to pull on it. Alright, so it's kind of tough to pull it off, especially if it wasn't pulled off before. So what we did is we kind of started grabbing it from the lower part and just pulling out the clips on the bottom and same time on top, and the whole thing just comes out. Okay, now you're gonna have to disconnect the wiring. Let me get you a video of that. This one's a little tricky. Just we used the little flathead to press in that little window, the opening window, and it released it. Okay, so there's the rest. Okay, so you have two plugs on the bottom. That's the auxiliary. Then one right here, and one right here, and one right there as well. And this one. Okay, this is what it looks like. Alright, so we're using a T15 Torx. We're going to be taking off the whole front panel from this whole assembly. Just make sure you fully take them out. Don't leave them in there. Alright, don't forget about these two on top as well. Kind of hidden, so just make sure you pay attention. Alright, so once you got the screws out, this is how you pop it out, and just slide it towards the back. And so you got the screen and the climate panel out. Okay. This is what you pulled out complete. Okay, so the instructions, they told us to basically cut the two lower mounting points, and luckily we did not, because it actually fit really nice with those mounting points right here. And not all the factory points were screwed in. So with this unit, you're only using 2 bolts or 2 screws right here, one right here, one right here, and 2 on top. So right there and right there. And then you have these holes right here from the factory unit, 3 of them. They don't line up, and we checked the unit after we screwed it in. It sits really nice and flush, so I think we're gonna be fine without it. And we did move these upper, or like these little bolt holes, to the space that the instructions told us basically. So we moved them up, but they still don't line up. But I don't see an issue with that because the 6 bolts hold it perfectly fine. Yeah, 4 on the bottom and 2 on top. I don't think this thing's gonna go anywhere. So I'll show you how it sits right now. We're gonna flip it over. I just have the tape for now. So this is what it looks like. So basically the 3 bolts on each side are missing on this, but it sits really nice and flush. I don't see an issue. Okay, so we're gonna do the wiring right now. So again, these are gonna be the leftover screws. So just in case, it's not a big deal. So this cable is for a SIM card. So if you're gonna have like an internet or some wireless provider that you want to use in the system, it's capable of it. I'm not gonna be using this, so we're not gonna do anything with it. It's just gonna be hanging here. I don't think you could disconnect it. Yeah, it's built in. So basically it's a SIM card slot. Alright, so this is gonna be the GPS antenna. Yeah, so this is the GPS antenna. It plugs in right there. It's the blue plug. So these RCA cables are most likely not going to be used. They're usually for like a aftermarket sound system. If you have like subwoofer and speakers going in, not the factory stuff, but our car is all stock, so I'm not going to be using that. But what you're going to need to use out of this set is the microphone plug. So this is the one we're going to be using out of this, and it plugs in right there. They're pretty easy. They're kind of made to be fit into only one slot, so you're not going to really mix them up. Okay, so this wiring is for cameras, for different cameras. I don't think we're going to be using this because we have the factory camera, and I think the factory camera should be part of the harness, not these are usually for aftermarket cameras, so I'll probably take them off. So these are auxiliary wires. We're not going to be using this since we don't have anything for it, so we're going to skip this harness. And what is this? DVR cable. Most likely we're not using this either. So there's going to be a lot of leftover wires that you're not going to be using, because if your car is all factory, you could just use the factory stuff. Okay, what is this? So this is the Wi-Fi antenna. Okay. So we're going to be using that. So this is the microphone. That's the jack that we're going to be using. So this is when you make calls, so the voice is heard through this microphone. So usually they go in the steering wheel somewhere right in front of you. Alright, so this is a USB line. This is what you pull through and just gonna set it where you need it in the center console or dashboard. You could get creative with them, but we're just gonna pull it out and just gonna let it hang in the center console. Okay, so this is where it plugged in. This one right here. Alright, so this is gonna be the antenna conversion to your factory car antenna. So it just plugs in right there. Plugs into the car antenna. So this is the 4G antenna. It's marked as 4G right there. So this is if you're going to be using a SIM card with the provider that's going to give you like internet access or something. You're going to need this antenna. We're not using it, so we're not going to connect to it. It's just less stuff to deal with. Alright, so there's going to be 4 7mm screws holding this unit. This is going to be the navigation climate control brains. So we're going to take this out already. I already had it unscrewed, so we're going to be unplugging it all. There's a button you gotta press on the other side. I can't get a camera in there to get a view of it. So just make sure everything's unplugged. And this is the USB. So we're gonna start off by connecting it to the car's plug, so it's a little easier instead of having it all covering it later. Okay, just make sure it fully clicks in. There, so this is the climate control plug. So just pay attention to this plug right here. So this is the one, there's two identical ones. One says with factory amp, and the other one says without factory amp. See, this is the one without factory amp. We're using the factory amp, so I'm using this plug, and it does connect to one of its own harnesses kind of nearby it, so just kind of pay attention to it. I'm not really sure what this is, so I can't say anything about it, but this little canvas box, basically we connected it to the big harness, converts it to these two right here, and they're marked as 2 radio hazard lamps, and the other one says 2 radios, so I'm not sure where it's going to plug in yet, but we'll find out. These cables, usually one is going to be for the GPS, the other one's the Wi-Fi antenna or whatever. These are the factory stuff. I'm not really exactly sure which is which. Since the unit comes with its own GPS antenna already, we're not going to be using these, so we're just going to tuck them in. Just gonna tuck them in where they're not going to rattle once you close it all up.
Rayo.
Okay, so that's the plug from the canvas box. Alright, so it's the main plug. Just make sure they clip in fully. Okay, we're mixing this one up, so this one connects to the canvas box, the one that connected to here. So it says 2 radio hazard lamps. So right there, connect them together. Okay, just kind of tricky, but just pay attention to it. Okay, so this is one of the antenna cables or whatever that is, I'm not sure, plugged in right there. And you have another one right there. It's kind of tough to get to it. It's kind of tough to record, but we're going to be using that. I'm not sure if this is going to be the right plug, but alright, so the second antenna cable, whatever that goes in the bottom right there, it's really tough to get an angle of it, but that purple plug right there that's not connected, we weren't able to figure out what cables goes in there from the car. And we'll reach out to the factory and confirm it, and we'll see if something's not working, so we'll get an idea. So I just figured it out actually right now, so I'm not editing the video, so we're just kind of recording because it's a very long video, but that slot is for the 4G antenna actually, so we're not using it, so we're gonna skip it. So we connected this one right here. Doesn't really say what it is, but we connected this one to the green one. That's the only one it fit to. I'm not sure how accurate it's gonna be, but we'll see. So this one goes, so it's basically the radio antenna. It's the converter from the navigation unit to the green one. Alright, so now we're connecting the original plugs that go for the auxiliary on the bottom of the unit. This is your factory plugs. So there's two plugs. And the third one remains unplugged. We weren't able to figure out where this one goes. So it might be bypassed, or we'll find out if some features are not working. We'll have a better idea what it's for. So this is the best video I could get you with the wiring. It's just there's too much of it, and you have to have it all kind of connected. It's kind of tough to record it, but this is what it looks like. So some features you're not going to be using, so they're going to be left alone. So we're going to go ahead and plug it in and just see what happens. So right now we throw it on. We're going to test it, see how everything works. So this is the unit. Alright, so I'm going to power on the car. There's another screen sticker on here. We're just going to peel that off later. Try to close the door, see if the beeping will stop. So these are the instructions for the wiring. They're inside the navigation unit, so just in case this might help you, because I didn't have it at the time. There you go. It explains everything right there. So it looks like the two antennas that we're having issues finding, they're both 4G antenna cables.